so happened to be Providence St. Joseph Hospital in Eureka. When she got there, the doctors informed her that one of the twins' amniotic sacs had broken and lost all fluid, meaning that it wasn't going to survive. And when she asked about the other twin, they told her that it was extremely unlikely that she could maintain the pregnancy. And so as a result, the doctors agreed that if Anna didn't terminate the pregnancy quickly, she would be putting herself at risk for infection, hemorrhaging, and threaten her future fertility. But despite the fact that the doctors literally recommended she abort the other twin, she was informed that hospital policy prevented them from giving her an abortion because one twin still had traceable heart tones and her life was not at enough risk. But then at the same time, the lawsuit also alleges that a doctor suggested that Anna take a helicopter to a hospital almost 300 miles south in San Francisco, but warning there that it would cost $40,000 that her insurance wouldn't cover. When she asked if she and her husband could make the nearly 5-hour drive to San Francisco, she said the doctor replied, "If you try to drive, you will hemorrhage and die before you can get to a place that can help you." Which I just have to ask, like, if someone is going to die if they drive less than 5 hours, how does that not qualify as life-threatening? But that said, after several hours at Providence, Anna and her husband drove 12 miles to Mad River Community Hospital. Before leaving Providence, she claims that a nurse sent her away with a bucket of towels like you'd use to clean a bathroom for the car ride. And then when she finally arrived at Mad River, she was actively hemorrhaging, she passed a massive blood clot, she spontaneously delivered one of the twins, and then was rushed to the OR so that the other fetus could be removed. With her doctor there saying in court documents that Nuslock lost considerably more blood than expected during the procedure. Very notably here, that doctor also said that she had treated other patients who had been denied abortions by Providence in similar instances. With Anna herself later telling reporters, "I'll never forget looking at my doctor, tears streaming down my face, my heart shattered into a million pieces and just pleading with her, 'Don't let me die,' adding my daughters deserved better and I deserved better." And so with this, California Attorney General Rob Bonta told reporters yesterday that Anna's case shows that these kinds of abortion horror stories, they can happen even in California, a place that is very strongly pro-choice. And adding, "We do not want another Anna." And the lawsuit specifically accusing Providence of violating a California law that requires all hospitals with emergency rooms to provide care to anyone in danger of loss of life or serious injury or illness, as well as saying what they did went against state laws concerning civil rights and business conduct. Now, very notably, in this situation, there are laws that allow doctors to opt out of performing elective abortions due to religious beliefs and prevent religious-affiliated hospitals from being forced to perform those elective procedures. But a very key thing is that emergency protections law does not allow for religious exceptions when hospitals operate emergency rooms like Providence does. So as a result, Bonta is seeking an injunction to ensure that Providence's patients are getting emergency healthcare, including abortion, which is especially important because Mad River, where Anna ultimately ended up getting the care she needed, they're actually closing their labor and delivery unit later this month, meaning that Providence, that's going to be the only hospital in Humboldt County that even has a labor and delivery unit. And with all that said, as far as how Providence has responded, the hospital issued a statement saying it was heartbroken over Anna's experience and adding, "Providence is deeply committed to the health and wellness of women and pregnant patients and provides emergency services to all who walk through our doors in accordance with state and federal law." But for now, we'll have to wait to see what happens there. But again, this lawsuit goes beyond California, right? That's because Bonta said that part of the reason he was bringing this challenge is because there's uncertainty over the fate of a federal law similar to California's called the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, or EMTALA, which is a law that's become a serious lightning rod in the abortion debate nationwide since Roe was overturned, with it not only being challenged by 2 states, but one of those challenges made it all the way up to the Supreme Court, though the court avoided ruling on the merits and sent it back to the lower courts, with that then likely queuing up another future showdown for the high court to hear in the coming years. And so it's seen as being incredibly important for the states to clearly establish the scope of their emergency laws moving forward. Though with that, I will say that's not the only big abortion news we've seen this week, and that is because a judge in Georgia just struck down the state's 6-week abortion ban and is now allowing the procedure to be performed until 22 weeks, at least for now. Because yesterday, Fulton County Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney ruled that Georgia's 6-week ban violates the state constitution, which he argued gives all adults the power to make decisions about their bodies, including women, writing that women's liberty of privacy means that they alone should choose whether they serve as human incubators for the 5 months leading up to viability. But I will say, like so many other state abortion laws that have seen a ton of legal back and forth, McBurney's decision here is widely expected to be temporary. Right? I mean, McBurney actually has already made a very similar ruling in this case back in 2022, but that decision was quickly appealed to the state Supreme Court, which reinstated the ban a week later while considering an appeal. With then, last October, the state Supreme Court upholding the 6-week ban, rejecting the claims that it was unconstitutional when it was first passed in 2019 before Roe was reversed. But the court there also sending the case back to the Fulton County Superior Court to address another question about whether the state constitution protected a right to privacy, which is what McBurney just ruled on. And so now, as a result, it's expected to make its way up to the state Supreme Court once again, with Republican officials in Georgia already vowing to appeal. And then, in some interesting entertainment news, it feels like the more that we hear from celebrities recently, the more we keep hearing phrases like, I love my fans, but. And that trend seems to now have continued with Ariana Grande, who just did a pair of interviews with Vanity Fair. And in those, she talked about her relationship with fame and all the criticism that comes with it. Right? And one of the things that she noted is like, this is not a new thing. She has struggled with this for a long time. Explaining the back and forth throughout the course of my career has been really hard to navigate mentally. I was this approachable, funny redhead on Nickelodeon and everyone liked me. And then I had one too many hit records and everyone decided that I was an evil diva. And then other terrible things happened and all of a sudden I was this hero and this victim. Right? And that cycle has changed again and again, with her also hitting on the backlash she dealt with when news of her relationship with Ethan Slater, aka SpongeBob, sparked a massive internet frenzy. You know, because you had tons of people accusing him of cheating on his wife to be with her, people calling her a man stealer and a home wrecker. With Ariana here placing a lot of the blame on what she referred to as disreputable tabloids, who she said created a ton of false narratives and stories around their relationship. But also here adding that the hardest part wasn't even that they were writing about her, but the fact that everyone believed the worst version of it. With her adding there, honestly, it's taken me a lot of hard work to be able to last this long and to heal certain parts of my relationship to fame and to what I do because of these tabloids that have been trying to destroy me since I was 19 years old. But you know what? I'm 31 years old and I'm not a perfect person, but I am definitely deeply good and I'm proud of who I'm becoming. I will never let disreputable, evil tabloids ruin my life or my perception of what is real and good. And in another part of the profile, she also talked about double standards that women face in the industry, and not just in terms of their personal life, but in the way that the media discusses the actual work you do. Like, for example, when people noticed her voice changed after her role in Wicked and during her album rollout, people attacked her, but she said when men are so committed to a role that something physically changed about them, they get praised. With her adding there, tale as old as time being a woman in this industry. You are treated differently and you are under a microscope in a way that some people aren't. But notably, her relationship with fame, it's not just rocky because of the press and the media. Well, taking Vanity Fair's lie detector test, which is a fantastic watch, her talking about the moon landing, possibly my favorite thing in the last 2 weeks. In that, she also noted that fans can complicate things too.
Would you say you love your fans?
Very much.
Yes?
Truthful.
Do you love them all the time?
I love them always, but I think sometimes they can hurt my feelings. And sometimes I don't like them, but I love them always. Does that make sense?
Yes.
She's being truthful.
It's a hard relationship, I think.
Yeah.
That's sort of like weirdly parasocial, but it feels very real to me. So sometimes it's hard, but I love them very much.
Right, notably, we're hearing those comments as the toxicity of fandom has been a major conversation online lately. Whether it be because fans are getting mad at or expecting certain things of Chappell Roan, or fans attacking people in the name of being a Swiftie, or whatever it is. Right, because it's clear that a lot of fans create a lot of problems for the people they claim to love so much, which is also part of why fame is so complicated for them in the first place. And while with this, or really anything I talk about on the show, I'd love to hear from you in those comments. You know, I do wonder if we will see any sort of change regarding fandoms and online reactions and actions. Because it feels like anytime a lesson is learned, it's unlearned very fast. Right? I constantly think back to Chadwick Boseman, and after he died, people were like, wow, I can't believe everyone was so mean about how he looked, and like we need to think about how we never know what's going on in someone's personal life. And then, well, obviously some people end up learning the lesson. At scale, it seems like the same problems just repeat and repeat. Though, you know, big cultural shifts, they take time, but I don't know if the ones around fame ever truly will. Then, yeah, I'll take a quick break from the news. You know, I gotta say, it has been fun for me to learn how you guys are using your SeatGeek winnings. From going to concerts and comedy and Broadway to F1 racing, our weekly SeatGeek $500 giveaway lives on, and you beautiful bastards are crushing it. Also, for the uninitiated, SeatGeek is the #1 rated live event ticketing app with over 28 million downloads and access to a wide array of entertainment to get you and a loved one out of the house. And my team has worked with SeatGeek to extend the $500 giveaway. And if you haven't entered yet, I mean, next week's winner could be you. You just simply add code PDS to your SeatGeek account, and in addition to getting $10 off, you could be one of our weekly winners, and that's $500 in credits towards any of SeatGeek's 70,000 events. Also, for you newbies out there, right, if you're new to SeatGeek, you can also add code PHIL for $20 off your first purchase. But again, for you SeatGeek vets, right, you can add code PDS, which gets you $10 off any purchase. It doesn't need to be your first. Plus, you'll be entered for your chance at the $500 SeatGeek credit, no purchase necessary. And then, so you know, we hear news all the time about American hostages finally coming home after months or years of captivity in Russia or somewhere else. But here's the thing, even though they're back, that doesn't mean the bad times are over. And I'm not even talking about anxiety, depression, PTSD, right? Because literally when they get home, like when they open their mailbox for the first time in what feels like an eternity, and I'm not kidding here, they find a bill from the IRS for back taxes, accumulated interest, and late penalties accrued while they were being held hostage by a foreign government.
It
was funny because it was so absurd.
Right, and that is Washington Post reporter Jason Rezaian, who was held by Iran for 544 days, ending in 2016. With him going on to tell News Nation what it was like having to pay over $6,000 in surprise taxes.
You come back from being held hostage, being put through a mock trial, told that you're going to be executed. The U.S. government mobilizes all its resources to free you. Thousands of government worker hours are put into this, millions of dollars in legal bills and everything else. And then you come home and there's a bill for you personally.